All right, we're going to go through the first 8 from June 2017, which was your homework. So for the first one, easiest way to do this is just graph all 4 of them. And then we're looking for one that has this same shape, and it's got to cross through the x-axis at -3, +2, and +3. It ends up being choice 1, and where that's coming from mathematically, if you set it equal to 0 and factor, you'd have x plus 3, x minus 3, and x minus 2. Set those each equal to 0, and you'd eventually get x equals -3. Oops, sorry, I wrote plus 3 on this one. That's a minus. X equals -3, x equals +3, and x equals 2. So then that matches with what we want. Number 2, it says solution. So all of these 4 options, they might look messy, but you can just store them for x, type in, and see which one gives you the 48. And it should have given you choice 1 for that. Bias is created when there's certain individuals that are either overrepresented or underrepresented. 3 would be our one that has the most bias, and the reason for that is it's only getting the opinions of people who chose to call the 1-800 number. So the people who are going to be motivated to call that number are most likely the people who are really upset, but you might have some people that are really pleased also, but you're going to get nobody in the middle. So anytime the person has to put in the effort, that creates a lot of bias. For 4, we've got equivalent. So store a random number for x, type in the original, type in the choices, and see which one it gives you. The mathematical way to do it is if we distribute through, we get -24 x squared I to the 4th, and we'll get plus 30 xi cubed. I to the 4th and I cubed we would then put in our calculator. I to the 4th would give us a 1 back. The I cubed would give us negative I. So 1 times the -24x squared would give us -24x squared. Then this would give us minus 30xi, and that matches with choice 2. For 5, we have solution, but it says approximate. So because it says approximate, we don't want to store this because those are rounded answers. But they say f of x is going to equal g of x, so let's set those equal first. So again, we don't want to just store it. The best way to do this is just graph it. You're going to graph the left side, graph the right side, and see where their intersection is. Now, absolute value, in case you're unsure, absolute value is in your templates next to the 9. So for me, it's in the top row, the last one. I think on your keypad, it might be the first one in the second row. But you would go in there in order to graph it. So you would graph the left, graph the right. And you would eventually get choice 3 for that. For 6, they said A and B are positive. So if you add on the inside, that makes it go left. If you subtract at the end, that makes it go down. So if you're going left and then down, we would end up with choice 4. So solution, you could do this as a store the answers, type in the original, see what comes back true or false. To do it algebraically, because we only have an x squared, work to get x by itself. So I'll subtract the 98 over. I'll divide by 4, and that'll give me x squared equals negative 49 over 2. If I take the square root of both sides, this is going to give me x equals plus or minus. We're going to have an I. We're going to have a square root of 49 over square root of 2. So this becomes plus or minus I. We're going to have a 7 on top over square root of 2. Now, at this point, you could probably figure out the answer because we're definitely having an I and we have a fraction. So it is going to eventually end up being choice 4. But what we would do to finish this off, we would rationalize the denominator by multiplying top and bottom by square root of 2. So you get x equals plus and minus 7i square root of 2 over 2. But again, you could have just done this one with a store. And our last one, we're going to just do this with trial and error graphically, but the important thing is to set up your window first. So our x's go from 0 to pi, and our y's go negative 0.5 to 0.5. So for our x's, I'll double click here, go 0, hit tab twice, and let's see, what did we go from again? Negative 0.5 to positive 0.5. So I'll make this be positive 0.5, hit tab twice. This was pi. When you put the pi in, it'll switch it to a decimal, but that's okay. And then we have negative 0.5. So get your window to match the one that is shown in the picture first, and then type each of these in and just see which one matches with what we want, and it ends up being choice 1. Make sure when you're doing this that you are in radian mode. We'll make sure you're in radian mode when you go into test mode, but we were not in test mode here, so make sure you're in radian mode in order to get the correct graph. All right, so you'll be working on some problems the rest of the period and finish those problems. The sub will let you know which ones to work on, and then you finish the remainder of them for homework. Have a good rest of your day.